Let's play some hockey. Stars Blues Game 3, series tied at 1. Well, Blues wins have been nail-biting finishes.
History, Jeff. Okay, your game will be the opening game of the Nat Stadium.
Clearly, the Wizards are not the same team that they were in the beginning of this season. They are definitely a force to be reckoned with. You could see the defending champions here tonight playing a back-and-forth game all night long. And they say that basically he influenced, Muhammad Ali. And he said, listen, would you...
A second, but I just wish that you could elaborate a little bit more about what it felt like to go through that elimination game. And given that opportunity this year, how would you guys do it differently? And if you both could answer the question, I'd appreciate it.
Well, differently is coming into this season without having knee surgeries and everybody being healthy. That's the key for our team. Hurt.
He left 93 seconds into the first quarter. He collided with a teammate and hurt his left knee. Don't know what's going to happen for the future with the playoffs, but anyway, Kevin Durant never returned back to the game.
Hey everybody, I'm Alina Neves, courtside at Capital One Arena, where the Washington Wizards, who are 9-5, take on the Miami Heat, who are 6-8. Now, as you know, the Washington Wizards beat the Heat in Miami, so tonight's going to definitely be a revenge for the Miami Heat. And the big scorer tonight was Bradley Beal with 24 points and 8 assists, as well as Otto Porter. Well, he had 23 points. He was just extraordinary tonight, very clutch. And Thomas Satoransky, who's in for John Wall, he's still out dealing with his knee. Well, he had 10 assists. He is definitely stepping up as their starting point guard. Anyway, a great win. Talked to Scott Brooks. He said tonight the game plan was just basically to step up defensively and to make the 76ers make mistakes. And that's exactly what the Washington Wizards did tonight. A great game and a much needed win for them, especially in this series. They tied up 2 apiece now with the 76ers. Important game as they approach playoffs and playoff seeding. Washington goes down to Cleveland in their first game against the NBA champions at home, 95-104. John Wall finished up with 28 points while Markieff Morris had 20 points. It was a great night for the Wizards despite the fact that they were without their shooting guard. Bradley Beal had injured his hamstring in the game against Boston. He had to sit this one out. A tough one, but one that the Wizards could definitely build momentum from, as well as be proud of. And on a side note, LeBron James, he finishes up with 27 points, 10 rebounds, and 5 assists, as well as he surpassed Kobe Bryant's record of being the youngest player to reach the 27,000 point milestone. If you're into tennis, then the Junior Tennis Championship Center is the place to be today. Recently named the title sponsor for this premier event, Prince George's County will host top-ranked juniors from around the world competing in this year's 3rd annual International Tennis Federation's Hardcourt Junior Tournament right here on the campus of JTCC. Now, they kicked off today's festivities with a very special luncheon, which featured some local government officials. All right, having some fun over here with the honorable, if I could get the word out, DC Council Member Michael Brown, having some fun over here in the studio. Of course, you guys might have seen one of my promo reels running before, and, we're just having some fun. Of course, Michael's making fun of me, but anyway, nonetheless, having a good day. A lot of people are wondering why I was dressed so nice today. Michael was thinking it was because he was coming on my show, but, anyway, it's really because today is my mom's birthday. So March 26th is my mom's birthday, so I always celebrate her birthday in some capacity because she's no longer with us. And it's just me celebrating in her memory. So,
well, happy birthday to Mom.
Happy birthday, Mom. Miss you, love you, think about you every single second of every day, and always will. So anyway, but nonetheless, a great show. By the way, my daughter just four-peated in the ACC. She's plays at NC State, and she just got Freshman of the Week again.
4P in the ACC. So she's breaking records for NC State. She's also helped them claim the number 10 spot in the ACC. And if you guys know anything about sports or the conferences going on, even now in basketball, she plays tennis. The ACC is difficult, even from a tennis perspective. It's very difficult. So for her to get freshman of the week for fourth time, 4P, doing pretty good. We'll see if she can. I told her, I sent her a text, see if you can do a 6P like Michael Jordan, and then we could talk. No. But anyway, without further ado, Michael, so glad to see you.
Well, congratulations to Alana.
Thank you.
Very welcome.
Thank you.
And
Hopefully,
and PJ in his own right.
PJ in his own right broke his, cracked his phone. Somehow we got it fixed, and didn't have to buy another one. So we'll see if he got his phone today, because I haven't talked to him in like 6 days. So, so I don't know what's going on with my son. But anyway, you know what it's like being a father, though.
Absolutely.
Michael has twins like me, except his are identical. So what's going on with your twin sons, Michael?
Well, they're doing well.
Speaking to the mic, Michael.
Oh, sorry, you're right.
You're sitting
They're
so
doing-
far back, Michael. Join the party.
Told
What
you
is
I
the
don't,
problem?
I don't want to fall off his little box here.
No, it's not. He wants everybody to look at his outfit. That's
But they can't see it when I scoot up.
well, come on in, Michael.
Kids are good. One son works at Nike on New York Avenue.
Oh, okay.
So
What is he? Okay.
He's in there doing his thing.
Doing his thing.
He actually
Okay.
got Employee of the Year from Nike a couple of months ago, and
No way.
so I'm very proud of him. And
That's awesome.
other son
How old
finished-
is he now?
they're 23.
They're 23. Okay.
Other son finishing up at the University of the District of Columbia, the Firebirds. He transferred from FAMU
Okay.
down in
Be
Florida.
closer to home,
Because
right?
I miss his daddy.
Yeah.
So they're
Aw,
doing well.
sweet.
I'm proud of him.
What? Okay. So when will he graduate?
He will be finished. Well, it depends on who you listen to.
Oh, okay. What does that
If
mean?
you listen to him, it's one. If you listen to the registrar, it's another. So I'm going to take it somewhere in the middle. Probably
Somewhere in the middle.
another semester or two.
Another semester or two. Okay, that's fine. Hey, listen, as long as he just gets it done, that's all.
Absolutely.
Right? We don't have to get it done right in 4 years, as long as you get it. I know some people still in college. I mean, they were there when I was there. I'm like, huh? No.
Yeah.
But anyway, so we have a lot of stuff to talk about, because there's a lot of things going on in the world. And we, as you know, Michael does Race to 2020 for every fourth Tuesday, or at the end of the month, basically, on the show. But he also will deal with like controversial things that are going on in our community as well. So there's some things that I really want to talk with Michael about today. But what do you want to start with, Michael?
It's up to you. You're the host. I mean, I know you.
I know, but
you
there's okay. So do we want to start with like oldest and then bring it all the way to like the most recent news?
I know we only have about 4 minutes left because we watched your whole
Whatever.
reel at the beginning of the show, so we can't even do any of the show. So whatever you want to do, we got he just gave us the 3-minute warning that the show will be over.
No, he did not. Whatever, Michael, please. So that's a lot of stuff that you didn't even see. You didn't even know I had done all of that stuff. So whatever.
But I did see all the hairdos.
Well, I mean, hey, we're supposed to have our mane straight. Well, I mean, it changes, guys.
You gotta do what you
I
need
go
to do.
blonde and then I go back to black. I mean, that's what being a woman is all about. It's about having fun. It's about living the best you, living all of you,
Very good.
right?
Wherever you'd like to
I
start.
mean, some of us are not bald and cute, but that's okay. That's okay.
It's called shaved.
Oh, is that what that is?
It's not-
Shame. Now, Michael, did your father ever see you bald?
No.
He didn't.
No.
What?
First of
No
all,
way.
Shaved.
Oh, shaved. Okay,
No.
would he approve?
Sure.
He would.
Why
You
not?
think he would like all the smoothness now? Huh?
He loved his baby boy, no matter what he did.
His oldest. Aren't you the oldest, Michael? You're not the baby. Oh, okay. All right.
I'll discuss age.
So Michael does have a sister.
I do.
And she's doing well in New York. She's a lawyer Is she still with the Johnny Cochran
firm? She's now managing partner. So she's,
wow.
Yeah, she's the boss.
She's the managing partner at the Johnny Cochran firm. So, I mean, kudos to Tracy. She's doing really good.
She
so
is. Very proud of her.
Very, very proud. I'm sure your father would be extremely proud of you guys, as your mom was too. So, okay. So let's start with the oldest stuff. The last time you were here, okay, the Michael Jackson story was about to hit that weekend, I believe, and then it happened that weekend. So just say real quick, Michael, about what do you think that was about? Do you think, I know that you're on the family side, and I get that, but there have been a lot of people that have come out. Like, I'm not sure if you guys know, Diana Ross spoke out and said, you know, she doesn't want everybody talking about Michael Jackson, and she's like, let it go. Then you had Barbara Streisand, who really spoke out against the victims back in the day when Michael Jackson was going through all of those trials. And she was saying basically that she was in support of Michael Jackson. And now she is, has come out and said that she's not speaking out against the victims, and that she wouldn't speak bad about them anymore, and that, you know, she has, I guess she got won over by the story. So just to clear up anything, Michael, what did you exactly do for them, and what do you think the outcome has been like, and how come, and we're not really talking about it now. It seems like everybody is cool with what they heard and back to playing Michael Jackson again, but not R. Kelly.
Well, I think the primary difference is, as part of the team for the estate of Michael Jackson.
Okay, that's what you were.
Yes, I was part
of the team. Okay.
I was running kind of the Washington operation.
Okay.
And coordinating with the different civil rights groups.
Okay.
Capitol Hill, trying to do what we could to put pressure on HBO not to run it. We knew it was
not to run it.
We knew it was an uphill battle from the beginning, but we did everything certainly in our power, and we're going to continue that effort through the lawsuit. There's been a $100 million lawsuit by the estate of Michael Jackson against HBO, Warner Media, and AT&T, which is the parent company.
Oh, really?
There supposedly there were some disparaging clauses and contracts. So we'll see how the court process brings, but our job is to see if we can, at the same time, try to level the playing field after that devastating piece.
Okay.
Our primary message, first of all, if you believe in the criminal justice system, Michael had his day in court, and he was acquitted. There's just absolutely no question about that. These two particular young men who participated in the HBO special, they either perjured themselves or forgot, but in that trial, both of them were on the stand, put their hand on the Bible, and said Michael Jackson never touched him. Now all of a sudden they're saying the opposite. Now,
one was 11. Like he started out with Michael Jackson at 7. No, I'm sorry. One was 7. Like 14, and the other one was like 18 or something like that. 17.
Again, I don't even want to get into the
facts.
Yes, from my standpoint, it's a.
I know, because I'll be ready to sit up there.
I'm not going to have a factual discussion with you. This is a fairness question. You mentioned R. Kelly. R. Kelly is here on this planet to defend himself against any allegations. Okay. Michael Jackson is not. Okay. So there's a fairness issue that if you were accused of something and you were in heaven, you'd be pissed that you weren't here to defend yourself. And that's all we're talking about is fairness. We didn't think HBO was fair.
But did you feel that these people, did you feel anything for the victims, that the victims needed to be heard? And maybe just because Michael Jackson is not around, they still had their healing journey.
Absolutely.
Though, and maybe they are further along in their healing and can really talk about it in a way that they were not able to really come to grips with it when they were younger.
Absolutely possible. But that's part of the whole fairness issue. You can't even look your accuser in the eye. That's the basic core and tenet of our criminal justice system, is you get to look your accuser in the eye. So maybe they do feel, maybe you're right. Maybe after years and years, they finally can step to the microphone and say, here's what happened. But the accused is not here to defend himself. Again, back to that same fairness question.
Right, but you know that the video was not about Michael Jackson. Even though it was talking about him, it really wasn't about him. It was about their
They
journey
sold it.
of
They
their
sold
healing.
it being about. They called it.
It's-
What was the
these are-
title?
these are
What was the
sexual
title?
assault
Was the
victims,
title-
though. What
was
could you
the-
say?
Was the title "Leaving John Doe's House"? No, the title was "Leaving Neverland," which is Michael Jackson's crib. So clearly, they were using Michael Jackson's reference throughout the whole episode
he was
and
the
documentary.
Yes, he was the culprit, but at the same time, these
Alleged
people
culprit.
had alleged culprit, but at the same time, these people had an opportunity to find. I mean, I think one of them said like only 6 years ago, he's really dealing with what's happened to him,
And
that's hard to deal with.
Absolutely,
Think about that.
absolutely.
I mean, you know,
I have nothing certainly bad to say about the young men. This is what they felt they needed to do. Supposedly there have been some more evidence and proof. Supposedly they had been compromised in some way or fashion over the last couple of years. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see how the facts come out.
Okay, but just real quick before
Be
we go.
careful with your boot on.
Right, I understand. Before we go and move on to a different topic, don't you believe that for Oprah to put her name behind something and for HBO to take upon that risk, knowing that they might be sued in the process, don't you think that that's pretty significant for them to have come forward?
I think it's significantly disappointing that Oprah got involved in that. Who knows why? And a lot of people are
She's a
disappointed.
sexual assault victim,
She is,
though.
but she
right?
can do it. No one,
Yeah.
but with Oprah's obviously name, she can have whatever special she would like to have. Why does she have to do it at the expense of Michael Jackson, who's not here to defend himself? It's a question of fairness.
Okay. All right. So we'll leave it there, even though we know that I could go on and on.
Yes,
but
okay.
anyway, we'll leave it right there. Just real quick, what did you think about R. Kelly being on CBS with Gayle King, though?
What a mess that was. Oh man.
You-
You know what got me of all his tirade and just
Yes.
How have you not been to a bank by yourself in your adult life? What's that about?
What's that about?
I don't know. I don't understand.
Huh? I don't understand
So
that.
dudes have been buying Ferraris and Maseratis on his nickel forever, and he didn't know.
I mean, how do
No,
you?
it's a shame. It's too
No,
bad.
but he hasn't. It seems like he has no access to his own money, though. That's
Well,
the other thing.
or
do
others-
people
or
just
others had
handlers
access.
had access
Yes.
to his money, and he really didn't?
And so when the statements come, and if you don't know how to read or write, at least that's what he claims, you don't know what you see.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
a shame. It's a shame. It's too
That's
bad.
a shame.
Unfortunate.
Wow.
But it's
Wow.
also unfortunate for the victims too. I mean, it's not just the whole thing's a mess.
Yeah. But would you, if you were there with him, would you have let him carry on and cry and scream
Well, if
out
I
in
was
the way
his
that he
counsel,
did?
I never would have put him on in the first place.
Oh, you wouldn't have
no,
put him on?
No, I don't know what they were thinking.
Huh?
No,
What?
no, not when you're in the midst of criminal justice. You let the chips go and defend yourself and do what you have to do. But that was a disaster. I don't know if it was on the lawyers or the PR people, whoever it was a mistake. Now it's great entertainment.
It was
to watch
awesome
it. It was great
entertainment to watch it. I
but
mean,
a mistake to go on.
wow. Okay. Okay, moving on. Race to 2020. A lot's been going on. Obviously, the Mueller investigation came out. Everyone was expecting that there was going to be some huge bombshell against President Donald Trump. Obviously, that's been thwarted by this whole report that's come out by Mueller, some of it that's come out, right? But a lot of it we won't even get access to, or we won't even be able to read, from what I understand. So just kind of walk us through that, Michael, just before we talk about the race and the election and all of that.
Well,
so we understand it, because we don't get all of it.
First, it all started a few years ago during the 2016 campaign, and a little before. And some of this is, I have to say, allegedly, because some facts are in dispute.
Okay.
But supposedly, some member of the Trump foreign policy team was running his mouth in some Australian bar, and there was a British agent there, and they overheard, and they contacted the United States, and the FBI got involved, and that's what triggered this supposed dossier that you've heard of.
Okay.
The dossier that was done by a guy who was an agent in the British government, who had a lot of supposed.
Okay, so we have a dossier that that came from somehow a British representative
Correct.
started this whole.
Correct.
Okay.
But
this
it really
whole
started.
investigation.
But it really started during the Republican primary. Though Republicans will have you believe that Hillary Clinton paid for it.
Right.
She did take over some of the dossier payment, but that was much later.
That was
it
much
started
later.
during the GOP by some of his own GOP
okay.
rivals.
Okay.
And that's where supposedly
during the primary time.
Correct.
Oh, gotcha.
Before
gotcha.
Hillary had an opportunity to have a piece of it.
Okay.
And that's when supposedly, if you've heard some of Ford, I don't call him P word, I call him 45.
I understand.
That 45 is blaming former Senator John McCain, may he rest in peace, that he delivered the dossier to the FBI, which started the investigation.
So that's why he comes out so negatively
About John McCain.
I
I mean, he also doesn't like him about his health care vote, but he
Right.
really doesn't like him because allegedly he shared the dossier with the
authorities.
FBI. So the FBI is going through an investigation because you cannot have a presidential candidate, a United States president candidate, dealing with a foreign entity, nonetheless, Russia. And then, lo and behold, 45 wins. The second, almost pretty much the second after he was inaugurated, there were calls for investigation. His own Justice Department, again, the GOP would have you believe that somehow Democrats did this.
This is so
The
interesting.
Hill, the Hill was all controlled by Republicans at that time. The House and the Senate cleared the White House with 45. And they appointed Mueller.
Okay.
They appointed a special counsel to come in and evaluate and investigate to see if all these allegations were true. After 22 months of exhausted interviews, unbelievable, unprecedented access to the campaign, to the inauguration committee, to the first days at the White House, finally the report came out a couple days ago, actually on Friday.
Right.
And the usual step-by-step process is that the report is supposed to be shared with the Hill.
Okay.
Attorney General Barr, who was handpicked obviously by 45, and supposedly already had a preconceived bias towards the investigation in the first place,
Okay.
did a 4-page summary over the weekend from 800 pages.
Okay.
Of course, Democrats have a problem with that. How can you go through 800 pages clearly and do a 4-page summary in 48 hours?
Right.
Unless you already had it written.
You already had.
So,
right.
because of
Unless
that,
you're already working with them too.
there does, correct. Well, they're all handpicked. It's 45 Justice Department. So, clearly they may have their hands in all kinds of pots. But no one questions the integrity of Bob Mueller. And he came back and said, look, I don't say anything relative to collusion. Now, for some people, that seems to be good enough, including Democrats. Some folks are like, you know what, maybe the collusion thing is, but it had to be investigated.
Okay.
But the one door that's still open and is not closed is the obstruction of justice charge, of whether 45 obstructed justice during the investigation. And that door is still wide open. Democrats on the Hill are going to investigate that to the hilt to see if he did, in fact, obstruct justice. If he is, does that rise to the level of high crimes and misdemeanors for impeachment? We'll have to wait and see. Now, this is where the Democratic Party is a little split. You have more of the more seasoned members, the members that have been there a while, that say, you know what, let's just beat them at the ballot box. Let's fight on issues. Let's talk about health care.
Let's
talk
till the election
correct.
and get rid of them.
Correct. Let's do it that way.
That way.
But you have some of these new younger members that also flip seats from Republican to Democrat, running on a message of get rid of this clown. And now they're not willing to say, no, let's not wait for the ballot box. He's a racist. He's a misogynist. He's a homophobe. He doesn't like Arabs. He doesn't like anybody with a Muslim last name. He needs to go. So the Democrat Party, we're trying to figure out now, we're a little split. I'm trying to figure out what we're going to march in with a message in 2020, whether we are going to have impeachment hearings or let's just beat them at the ballot box. That's the summary.
Oh, God. Okay. So going back really quick, right? You said that there's still the obstruction of justice that he still could be found, or they could still go after him for, right?
Correct.
He could have violated that.
Correct.
Okay.
And there's still the Southern District of New York and state charges in the state of New York. So there's
that
still
are
a lot.
relative to the obstruction of justice?
Well, no,
crimes?
these are separate stuff dealing with the
Oh.
Trump Organization, the Trump Foundation, dealing with a whole bunch of stuff that
the
involved
other stuff.
that involved the children. There are a
Okay.
whole lot of other issues.
But that
still have to
wouldn't
be vetted
impact
out.
him as the president, though.
Why?
That would
why-
be separate. That would be Trump or international or Trump's or his
Oh no,
business.
well, it's SDNY is still U.S. attorneys,
Oh, okay.
not including the Attorney General of the state of New York has
Okay.
also indicted Paul Manafort under New York State charges and may come after other people.
Wow.
So
Oh my
this
God,
is far
a
from
mess.
over. Far from over. It's a
Far
mess.
from over. Okay, so real quick though, who would be in charge of investigating further if the Democrats came together and decided, okay, you know what, we're not going to wait for the election. We're just going to go ahead and just check stuff out now, right? Suppose they came together and decided
House.
that. Then who would investigate? Would Mueller still be
No,
in charge of that?
Mueller's finished.
So he's finished. He's done
And
his
that, it would
job.
now be the House Judiciary Committee,
Okay.
the House Intelligence Committee, or the House Oversight Committee. Those are the three.
Oh, wow. Okay. And they would appoint
And they
somebody
have-
new.
And they have, well, no, they're no more appointing anybody. They have subpoena power. So
Oh.
they can go in and call people in to witness, to testify.
Okay.
And then if they see something, yes, they can refer it
Mm-hmm.
to a different U.S. attorney, or they could just start impeachment hearings. Someone would have to draft what's called articles of impeachment. It's basically like a bill.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And then it gets voted on, then you have hearings, and then the president either gets impeached or he's cleared.
Okay.
And then the next step is the United States Senate. Basically, the evidence gathering and
It would
impeachment
stop there,
phase is
though.
the House. Senate is a trial. And just like Clinton was cleared and
Yes.
was not removed from office, but impeached, that's the same kind of thing in theory that would happen to Trump. Sorry, 45.
Well, you just said Trump.
I slipped
That's all.
up. That
You
was a
didn't
mistake.
call him that.
Oh, that's true. I didn't call him a P word.
Exactly. Oh, wow. So, okay. So, do you think that this gives his campaign some level of empowerment?
Absolutely.
Oh, it does. Oh, wow. So you're.
Oh, they're going to use whatever. I mean, it's, whatever you say about him. If you think politics is a cutthroat, ugly, nasty business and it's all about winning, he's your candidate. Now, if you don't care about, somebody being a racist and a misogynist, then he's your guy. But if you care about another kind of candidate, and the Democratic Party has a deep bench, folks from Joe Biden to Senator Harris, that are really, really going to give 45 and Pence a run for their money.
Really? I mean, I think about it and then I go, can Biden really do it if he.
Well, let me tell you.
I mean, where are we in terms of Biden and Bernie Sanders?
As we get closer,
and Kamala and
if we get
Cory Booker, my favorite.
as we get closer to 2020, obviously some folks are going to start dropping out.
Okay.
The presidential politics is about electoral politics, and there's certain electoral states that are already in the red camp, which is Republican, and
Okay.
already in the blue camp, which is Democratic.
Okay.
How Trump won
Right.
was he flipped what's called the blue wall. Blue being Democratic wall to Republican for himself.
Okay.
He went into Pennsylvania, Michigan, Minnesota, and Wisconsin and flipped them. Sorry, not Minnesota, but Wisconsin
Okay.
and flipped them.
Okay.
And Ohio.
Ohio too.
So that's usually a blue wall, meaning it doesn't matter what Republicans do. If you don't win those states, you're not going to be president.
Okay.
So what a Joe Biden has the ability to do, because those are moderate states, is to go in and appeal to those moderate white middle-income families.
Okay.
Other folks that are running, nothing against them, like them, know most of them, good people, and all would be better presidents than the clown that's there now.
Right.
But the question is, do you want to make my father used to say this all the time when he was chair of the party. Do you want to make a point or do you want to win? And he said, yeah.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Wait, say it again.
He said, do you want to make a point or do you want to win? And in 1988, a lot of folks wanted to not 88, sorry, 92.
92.
A lot of people wanted to make a point with other people that were running. But he said,
But
do you
your
want to
father
win?
wanted to
He
what?
said, if you want to win, Bill Clinton has to be your nominee.
Wow.
And I think that's what this is going to come down to. If you want to make a point, okay, then we can go in one direction. If you want to win, you got to go in another direction.
Okay. So are you saying that Bernie will make a point, but Biden will win?
Well, I think Bernie. Well, Bernie, who first of all, no. I mean,
Or Kamala will make a point.
well, let's take them individually.
Okay, let's take them individually.
Bernie Sanders. Senator Sanders. Well, people have two problems with him. First of all, you cannot argue with where he stands on issues. I like where he stands on issues.
Okay.
He still has to explain how you pay for some of the stuff he wants to say everything's free.
Right.
But two problems. One, with Beto O'Rourke and other people in the race, they're going to be taking from his base.
His base.
So he's not going to have it like before. It was just 101, him against Hillary. It was very defined. You're either with him or you're with her.
Hillary.
This time it's a little different.
Okay.
You got Senator Harris.
Yep.
You got Beto. You got Cory Booker. You got Klobuchar. You got a whole bunch of other folks in this race
That are pulling from that base. Okay.
That's one.
But we
Two.
always have, but even in politics though, you always have the ones that start out in the beginning of the race that kind of pull from the Democratic candidate.
No, but I was using the example of what happened last time. It was just 101.
Okay.
This one is going to be different.
This one is a
because
little
there are a lot
different.
of people. You got a lot
That
of
are
things.
high
you got a lot of
quality
people on the menu. A lot of stuff on the menu to
Okay.
pick from.
Okay.
So the other problem for Senator Sanders, especially for die-hard Democrats, is he's just going on back and forth on this whole Democrat independent thing.
Right. No one knows. It's like, well, he said that he's a Democrat now, though.
Right, but the question, he said that before, and then after the election, he went back to independent.
Went back to being an independent.
So he's got to figure out, and so a lot of the die-hard, and I went with that. I was an independent Democrat here in town. But that's because we have these special rules in D.C. where 2 seats are held out for independents.
Okay.
So anyway, that's a whole nother. We're not talking about local. Anyway, so with
we
all
are
those,
going to get to local though.
right,
We are going to talk about local D.C. too.
with all those people in the mix, I think come March of next year,
Okay.
maybe a little sooner, I think we'll have a much narrower field, and we'll be able to really figure out who has the distance to get to the convention and the longevity.
Okay. So during this time, right? During this time, is the Democratic Party kind of looking to see who is going to be more popular with the community? Who is getting more support? Who's getting more media coverage? I mean, what is the Democratic Party making assessments of, say, right now in the beginning of the race?
Yes, again, you're looking at your menu of options.
Who's raising more money?
I mean, money's certainly a part of it, but in the new world of social media, yes, of course, money's always important because you need to have resources on the ground to get your voters out. But in the new day and age of social media, money is not as important. Clearly, still a factor, but it's just not. It's not the number one factor than it used to be.
Okay.
So yes, money is one thing. Feet on the boots on the ground. Boots on the ground mean how many resources and volunteers do you have? And then messaging. Who has the best message to carry the Democratic message? And then in this one, different from maybe past. When you look at a lot of polls, you'll see the word electability. Electability doesn't mean can I win. It means can I beat
the other
45.
Right.
That's all this is about. Now, some people, that's how they're voting. They're not voting on it. They could care less about the issue. They know that Democrats are closer to their issue and to their heart anyway. The question is, who can beat 45? And in a lot of people's minds, that's why he's been up in the polls, is Senator Biden, Vice President Biden. That's why I am of the school, and I've made it clear on other shows, I am a Biden-Harris person. I think they check all the boxes.
Okay.
You can flip that blue wall, those Midwest states back to blue, and you have Senator Harris on, and you're rewarding black women for being the backbone of the Democratic Party for decades.
That's strong. Ooh, that is so true. I didn't think about it like that. That's very true. There's been a lot of strong.
Because frankly, the reason Hillary Clinton lost was because of white women.
Right.
White women in those states I just
but
mentioned
black
did not
women
vote
came
for
out
her.
and supported her.
Who?
Hillary.
Who?
Black women.
Yes.
Right.
Because that's what I mean. They have been the backbone. No
Yeah.
matter who the Democratic nominee is,
They come out
black
strong.
women are there. Black women are there. It's time to reward black women of our party.
And she just came out. I saw this on CNN.
And she's qualified.
Yeah, that's what
and she's
she
qualified,
is qualified
and smart and talented.
Yes.
There's no reason in the world she can't be a great vice president.
Yes.
And president one day.
Right. And she also said give teachers like $15,000 more money each. and she has a plan to do that. So, I mean, I was like, ooh, this I gotta hear. But I like her, but I also think that Cory Booker is really strong about his own vision, though.
We'll
He's
see.
strong.
He's very strong.
Wow,
Senator Booker,
he's smart.
No, and from an important state, if I was in New Jersey.
New Jersey.
But for whatever reason, at least as of yet, he has not captured the imagination of folks in the polling, if you believe in polls.
Yeah.
For whatever reason. He just hasn't yet, and that was early. So we'll see what happens over the next few months as he gets more out there. He has a big town hall on CNN and, tomorrow night. So I'm sure he's going to perform well there. And so we'll see what happens.
We'll see what happens. Okay, now, in terms of electability, I believe that Biden, Vice President Biden, can fight in the same way that Trump can fight. I don't think, you understand what I'm saying? I'm just saying, when they're in a debate, you know that Trump is going to hit below the belt. And I'm not saying that Vice President Biden is not a high quality person. He is. He's very high quality, but I think that he can also fight you on your street, on your block. He ain't afraid. I'm just saying, you know what I'm saying? You got to be able to fight Trump on his block.
I told you, I'm biased. He taught me in law school. I think
He taught you in law school?
Yeah, I think.
He did? Yeah. He was your law school teacher?
Yes.
Oh, my God.
Well, he came, he was a United States Senator, so he came to, I went to law school in Delaware, for folks that want to know, which is outside of Philly. And, he came however many, I don't remember now, how many times a month or whatever, and I happened to be one of the lucky ones that got in his class.
That got in his class. What? Did you pick the class because he was teaching it? Or did you?
Absolutely.
Oh, my goodness. Okay. So what kind of professor was he then?
Well, he mostly talked mostly about constitutional law.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But he was fine.
But was he interesting, though? Did he bring,
extremely.
personal experience and great
stories?
Great stories. That's what I envisioned him to be.
Incredible stories.
Okay. Awesome. Wow. Oh, my goodness. So you're going to an event, though, tonight, you said?
For Senator Harris.
Right. And which is she going to be there?
I'm assuming so. It's for her.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just saying. I just saw her somewhere else on the news a little while ago. So they're like in 2 states in one day, or everywhere. 3 states in one day, right?
Exactly. Absolutely.
Okay. So what kind of event is it? Can we know? Are we being too nosy?
That's your job. That's your job.
You know, we gonna see. Well, what kind of event is it, Michael?
Just calling it an event.
Okay, before time gets the better of us.
Yes.
Okay, I do want to get to DC
We would have had more
politics.
time on the.
Whatever, Michael, be quiet. Okay, so Michael, is that all for race?
For now, and as we get closer, again, as candidates start to drop or some start to move forward to the front end, we'll start to have some more conversations.
This is what I wanted to tell you about. My kids are 19, so they will be able to vote, but both of them are out of state. Mm-hmm. For those people who have children in college that are out of state, what do you suggest they do? Because a lot of times we don't know what to do ahead of time. We wait till the last moment. Yeah. Oh, let's do an absentee ballot or something like that. We need to know now how we should be guiding our kids who are in college who may not be able to be there physically to vote in the state, but can vote from
Very
school.
Simple.
Go ahead.
You're a Maryland resident, I understand?
Yes.
Very simple. They request a ballot. Now, it's too early now.
Okay, early now.
But for the Maryland primary, I don't know when the date is for you. I think you're in March.
Okay.
But for the Maryland primary, they would request a ballot.
Next year.
Yes.
Okay.
They would request a ballot. But you got to check with your local election board and commission of when the dates are when you can then request your absentee ballot. They request the absentee ballot, comes in the mail. They
to them at college?
No, it'll come home.
Okay.
But when they're home for the holiday, or you can certainly FedEx it to them, they FedEx it back.
Okay.
They fill it out, and then you mail it back.
And then then I mail it back to the election.
People make it more difficult than it is. It's very simple.
Okay, but there's no online. They can't do it online.
No, that's not there yet.
We're not there yet. Okay. So basically, you have to request an absentee ballot.
Correct.
And you have to
state the reason that you're in college, and it'll get granted, and then it comes back. They fill it out. You mail it back.
And you mail it back. Okay. So do we understand that? Because a lot of people talk about it, and I go, you know what? That's the one thing I'm going to ask somebody is how do you handle the absentee ballot? Because we should know how to vote, how our kids can vote, because our kids need to vote. There's going to be a lot of young people voting this year, this election. So we need to find out for those who are in college. Okay. All right. So DC, let's go. Come on, DC politics. Let's get to it.
Are you doing that boxing later?
Huh? Oh, yes. No, I do want to talk
Okay,
about
all
Okay. So do you want to do boxing real
No,
quick
it's
or
up to
DC?
you. I just didn't want you
Which
to
one
forget.
is longer? Because we have time. We have a little bit of time, so I want to make sure that we get to everything.
Either one.
Which one
depending
takes
on what you
longer?
want to talk
Okay,
about.
let's
do
talk about.
boxing.
All right, let's talk about the boxing real quick.
All right.
Then we'll switch over to like a little politics in DC. Okay. All right, DC boxing. You used to be on the DC Boxing Commission. I am trying to have more boxers come on my show. I want to invite boxing gyms. I want to invite boxers. I know there are some boxing matches coming up. I think as early as this week, like the 29th, I hear at Rosecroft. There's a lot of stuff coming up.
That's
so,
Maryland.
Well, Maryland, I know, but
I'm
I'm
just
just
saying, you're
talking
talking
about
about
boxing in
DC
general.
Okay,
but
gotcha.
I want to bring DC
All right, no
also back to DC. I mean, boxing back to DC. So
Yes.
how do we do that? Go.
I was vice chair of the Boxing
Yes.
and Wrestling Commission, and
Vice chair.
what you have to do is make it attractive for the promoters.
Okay.
This is a natural fight town, so you have a built-in crowd here.
Okay.
But it's also one of the most expensive cities in America to do anything in.
Is
So
it?
that includes
Really?
a boxing match, whatever. So what you have to do is make it attractive for the promoter as well as for the fighter on the other end of the taxes. So there are a lot of different pieces that you have to put together, and we just did a really good job during my tenure of putting together attractive packages, economic packages for the promoters and for the fighters. So because we want them to, yes, make a little bit of money.
Right.
Yes, we got to tax them a little bit, but
Okay.
we want them to put on the best show if possible.
Okay. So did you work with the boxers or did you worked with the promoters basically?
Mostly the promoters. There were some boxers I worked with that also were promoters in their own camps, but mostly it was the promoters because they're the ones that have to figure out how to front the money to get a site.
Because you have to pay for the location.
You pay for location. You have to guarantee the purses.
Okay.
You got to pay for security. I mean, there are a lot of costs that go into having a fight match.
And
So
DC will require you.
most jurisdictions
pay.
are going to require
Okay.
that you have a security bond,
Okay.
that you guarantee the purses, because you've got to guarantee the purses. Otherwise,
No.
somebody can fight, but, oh, sorry, I didn't get the money.
Right,
And so
right.
you can't do that.
Okay.
So, yes, so whether it's security bond, guaranteeing the purses, and the site fee, you have to have, obviously, the resources to do all those things, and it can be very expensive.
Okay. So you did business with Mike Tyson.
Yes.
Okay. How did that deal come about and how did it end up?
I was under
it-
fire. That was the first time I had been called Bama of the Week, for those who remember the Bama of the Week days. And so I got Bama of the Week because I
Name
got
of the week, what on
Bama of the Week,
WPGC or something?
week. Yeah, I got Bama of the Week.
With Huggy Lowdown and
Oh,
Donnie
Huggy, thank
Sanders?
you. Yeah. Because
My old station. Go ahead.
I helped
funny.
give Mike Tyson his license back. Because
Oh.
after that, a lot of states and jurisdictions wouldn't give him his license.
Okay. When he
then-
went to jail for a little while.
Jail,
They wouldn't give
biting
him that.
Evander's
Biting
ear off.
Evander's
There were a lot of reasons.
Okay.
All right, so we wanted to give it a shot because I did it. It was dollars and cents for me. I wanted
Right.
the city to make as much money as possible.
Plus, it's sexy.
Which we did.
Which you did.
Which we
Really?
did.
The city made a money.
The city made a mint. We made about $10 million that weekend
What?
for the fight.
No way.
And we
See, maybe we
and
wouldn't
we
have
titled
cameras
up,
everywhere.
We titled up all the receipts from the tour buses, restaurants, hotels, fight night, and we did really, really, really well.
Wow. Oh my goodness. That was a big fight though.
Oh, yeah,
That
huge
was
fight.
awesome. So if you were part of the boxing commission, where would you have these fights at?
Well, now you can have them. We started
DC.
we started opening up other venues. Obviously, the convention center is obvious.
Right.
Capital One Arena is obviously obvious. But we had them at Lincoln Theater. There was some of our best
What?
fights with the Lincoln
At
Theater.
Lincoln Theater?
Quaint,
How did you do that
quaint
though?
and tight, and got all sweaty, and it was just you couldn't beat it. You
What?
could not beat it.
No
We had the ring up on stage.
Okay.
People were in the crowd.
Okay.
Packed house. 14th and U.
Wow.
I mean, you had a Metro access. People were excited of coming in Lincoln
Wow.
Theater for a fight.
Wow.
We have them in boys and girls clubs. So we had them all over the city. We were very, very pleased about making sure we.
What about DC Armory, though,
We had them in
too,
DC
right?
Armory. The problem with DC Armory, we couldn't have fights in the summertime because there's no AC.
Oh, there's no AC.
But we had them in the winter and the fall, which were great.
Okay.
And Metro Access.
Okay.
Couldn't beat the Armory. Armory was great. We just couldn't have fights in the summer.
What about outside? What
We
about
had,
like
we
an
had a couple. We had a
outside
couple.
place?
We had a couple
Would that
outside.
ever
We had a
be?
couple outside shows, and they worked out nicely. We started the kind of kickboxing craze, and
Yeah.
so we were doing really well. We were having sometimes as many as 3 fights per month in the District of Columbia.
No, it was really popping.
We were
And I'm
popping. We were-
like, what happened?
I left the commission. I got after the Tyson deal, Tony Williams fired me.
Really?
Kicked me off. He gave
He
me the,
kicked you
he
off.
gave me the boot. Well, let me tell you what happened. What happened was I'll tell you what happened was,
Okay.
and then we can get to your other subject. What happened was, right around the time of the Tyson fight, Tony Williams was not sure whether he was going to run for mayor or not again.
Okay.
And I was getting a lot of play at the time. I was doing a lot of TV promoting the Tyson fight, and then people started saying, "Hey, Michael, you should run for mayor," kind of thing. So it started getting out that I may run for mayor, and this was kind of my launching pad was the boxing commission. And
Oh,
so Tony Williams and his people are like, well, we're not going to can him yet, but after he closes the deal, we'll give him the boot. So literally within hours after I tied it up in a bow, had everything set, I got the letter.
Oh no.
So, but that's politics. It's okay.
But that's
fine.
that's
fine.
yeah.
I'm a big boy. I can take it.
Oh man, that's
But everybody
terrible.
knew
We gotta
that.
get you back
But
on,
everybody
though.
knew the Tyson fight was because of my efforts and a lot of other people.
Yeah.
Did it in great teamwork.
Yeah.
And we got it done, and $10 million for the city.
Wow, that's awesome. But you know what though? Nothing was sexier than going to convention center, seeing the boxing matches there.
Convention
That
Center's
was
great venue.
woo,
That's really our best venue.
that was nice
Really
there,
our
and
best
I
venue.
really wish that we could bring that back. Can you? Who's on the boxing commission anyway now? I mean, who's handling the show?
You gotta ask others.
Oh, you have to ask others? Okay, so let's real quick, in the last few minutes that we have, get into some of the DC politics, okay?
Sure.
What is going on with DC? Where are we? Because I'm like, who's even on the council anymore? I mean, gosh, I miss those Marion Barry days. Woo! God, I mean, DC just ain't DC right now.
Yeah, well,
I mean, I like DC. I like all the growth, the business development. I like that. I don't like the cameras. I think the cameras are really messed up. It's really screwed up to do that to people, because I don't think the residents of DC can afford $100, $150, $100. I mean, Maryland does it much better than DC in terms of those tickets, because they charge you like $40. DC charges you $100 to $150. I think that's really messed up to its residents.
Some will say slow down.
It's true,
I'm not saying,
but
I'm
I'm
just
just
saying,
saying
I'm
you
with
can
you.
go
I'm
a
with you.
little pat and get a ticket. You can make a turn right on red and get a ticket.
Yeah.
Yeah. So okay. So go back. Talk us through like what's going on with DC politics. We know that some.
Should I turn my mic sideways like you? Because were you trying to show the WLVS symbol? Is that
I'm
what you're trying to
just
do?
trying to be
I can
me.
do the
That's
same
all.
thing.
Just being all of me. That's all. So go ahead.
Lord have mercy.
Michael, you are
This
too
is like
bad.
the Alina
You're
7
too bad.
hour. This is like the
You're
Alina
too
7
bad.
hour.
And you were part of it, so.
I'm glad. I'm honored to be part of it.
Thank you. Couldn't think of anyone better.
Yeah.
So, Michael, tell
Yeah.
us about DC politics. I know you're involved.
Yeah.
And then we want to know what you're going to do with your future.
Well, DC is clearly it's changing.
Yes.
All you have to do is certainly if you've been here. I'm 4th generation Washingtonian. I know you've been here quite some
Yes.
time. And clear,
Ain't
city-
so chocolate.
Yeah,
it's
little
more
different,
integrated.
little
Nothing
different.
wrong with that.
Absolutely nothing wrong. As
Yeah.
I said, and you probably may remember from some of my campaign slogans, I don't mind the growth.
Nope.
I don't mind all the new hot restaurants, new hot
Yep.
clubs, being
Yep.
the hottest real estate market in the country. I helped create that, so
Yes.
I don't mind it. But we shouldn't have to push out long-term district residents to make room for new folks. You can do both.
But
And
how
we've
can you
lost-
really
well, you
do
look-
both? I mean, some of the
Let me tell you-
housing just, I can't
Let me
see
tell you,
people
I'm glad
living
you
down
asked that
by
question.
Capital One Arena and affording the rent down there.
I'm glad
It's
you
just-
asked that question. It's easy to do when you have the political will to do it. What you do is, yes, you can have all those new condos, but in the legislation,
Yes.
you put in that the developer holds back a certain percentage for units for affordable housing, period. And when you have the will to do it, it absolutely can be done.
Yeah.
We were doing it
but
every
that
day.
might be five condos in the midst of like 5,000.
Right, but you have to balance the real estate prices.
And then you have them competing with each other, trying to get on that lottery.
But you still have to have the will to do something. Right now, I don't think any of it's being done. And now that the development is creeping more east,
yes.
to the eastern part of the city,
the eastern part of the city.
It's hard to develop down here on 7th Street or further down in Shaw, clearly in Chinatown. Where are you going to develop? Clearly, West End, it's difficult.
Yeah.
Georgetown, you're not going to
Well,
be able to
they're
develop.
developing all along here too.
Well,
though,
no, but
bit.
that's been in the pipeline for
For
years.
a
We
long
put that in
time.
the pipeline.
Okay.
But I'm talking about now. People are putting the pipeline east of the river,
Okay.
deep northeast, southeast, and that's where you're going to start to see really a driving out of people of color to make room for new folks, unless there's the political will to say, wait a minute,
Okay.
we want to make sure longtime district residents can stay.
Wow. But can we clean out the neighborhood and still keep residents, or do we have to have, I mean, I'm just saying, to what extent can you clean neighborhoods? Because some of the neighborhoods, I will admit, they needed to be cleaned out, though,
Oh, no,
Michael.
absolutely. But
I
people
mean,
get
come on.
scared when they see a Starbucks pop up. That means A, they're being moved out, or it's
Okay.
going to become too expensive for them to live.
Okay.
But at the same time, you're right. We do need to. So one of the things we used to do is, if development is happening, and this part of Georgia Avenue is a prime example.
Yes, it
And I've
is.
had conversations with the leadership at Howard. Is as you develop this part of Georgia Avenue, even if you want to keep the mom and pop shops, you can still fix the facades outside. There's no reason you can't put money in this is a main street, which then people start to have more pride in their neighborhood when it
Yes.
starts to look better.
Yes.
So the question is chicken and egg. Should the residents do it, or should the city government do it? From my standpoint, both do it.
Both.
But at least put money and resources in, so then the local residents say, dang, the city cares about my neighborhood, so do I. Then
Right.
it gets to your point of cleaning up.
Okay, that's actually a really good idea too. I didn't think about it like that, but that's true. But how do you give them resources? You still have to help
That's
them out a
again,
bit,
political will.
I
You
mean,
put
come
it in
on.
legislation.
Yeah, well, you gotta
If
elect
you have
people that care about your neighborhood, though.
Elections-
You can't just
Elections have consequences.
They do,
They
but I'm
do.
just saying. I mean, who is in this neighborhood and who's being interactive, and what are they doing for the community to help clean up? And then what are the ANC commissioners doing? Right, the onus is on them too to mobilize
Absolutely.
the neighborhood as well. So I mean, it's,
Elections have consequences.
yes, we have to get out there and get
Yep.
some folks. So what is okay? So real quick then, Michael, just talk about what you're working on and what we can see you, like where can we catch you? I know you're on everybody's show, so you can talk about that, and then just talk about some of the things that you're working on, and then we'll see you in about a month.
No, I do some political punditry. I enjoy it, talking about politics in 2020 and what's kind of happening in our city. I'm at a lobbying.
You're like the crown prince, though, of politics. So I mean, you've been in politics since you were like little.
Since a little fella.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm at a lobbying firm on the Hill and doing some other work with another investment firm. And
Okay.
so I'm just trying to stay busy doing what I do.
Yeah, but you're doing other things,
we
Michael. Why are you being so quiet?
What are you talking about?
You're working on a book. You're working on some stuff. What
Working
can
on
we
books,
see you?
Working on a book. I passed out toys with Councilmember Treyon White in Ward 8 at Christmas. Gave away some turkeys in Ward 7 and 8. And fed the homeless Thanksgiving that I've been doing since I was 8 years old. So I'll continue to do what I do. Whether it leads to anything or not, I guess we'll wait and see.
Oh, you're being. Oh, okay. Aren't you working on a book though?
I'm working on a book, so late this year we'll start our signing tour around the country. And
Oh wow,
so
really?
hopefully we'll,
It's gonna. Oh wow. Okay, you gonna put something about the hustle in there?
Lena 7, that's all it's about.
All right. Thank you so much, Michael. How can people reach out to you? And
They
get
can
more
hit-
connected to
Well, they can
you.
hit me on LinkedIn. They can hit me on Twitter, MA Brown DC.
I hit you on Twitter. You didn't respond today, but anyway, that's okay.
sorry.
That's another story. But
I
you
got
know.
locked out. I got to remember my password.
Oh Lord. Okay.
It's
All
been I
right.
keep it open on my phone, and for some reason
was
everything
gone.
got cleared, so I don't remember my password. So I got to go back and start from scratch. But that's okay. I'll get back on there. I'll respond.
All right, cool. All right, well, it's always so much fun to have Michael here on The Hustle. Don't forget, we're here each and every Tuesday from 6 to 7 right here at WLVS. It's your girl, Lena 7. I'll see you guys next week. Some fun stuff happening in the month of April. We are featuring boxers. So I can't tell you everything going on, but we're going to be having some boxers in the house, some trainers, some gyms, whole bunch of stuff if I don't fall. Anyway, I'll see you guys next week later. Thank you, Michael. We'll see you at the end of the month, right? End of April? You coming back, right?
I'll be back.
All right, good. See you guys later. Bye.